Again is Travis. I'm the communications manager and the graduate admissions counselor for the graduate school. As I said before, I am an alum of Binghamton, and I'm now happy to be a professional here. Again, with me are two of our graduate assistants, and I will let them introduce themselves. Monica?
Okay, so I'm Veronica. I am a first year student in the Student Affairs Administration program, and I'm also a grad assistant in the graduate school. I do a lot of the communication and marketing for the office. I manage our social media presence, so the Facebook page, stuff like that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Owusu. I'm also a first-year graduate student at Binghamton University in Student Affairs Administration. I'm also a graduate assistant at the graduate school, in the graduate school office. I work as a customer care assistant, kind of help students, faculty, staff, answer any questions they might have about applications, graduate school, the programs that we offer, things of that nature.
So when we were setting up this webinar, there were some common questions that people were asking, and so some of them very common, and actually also some of them very interesting. So we thought we would briefly go over a few of the most common ones and the most interesting ones. So the graduate school, we posit an average cost of living for the area at around $15,100 per year, including things like rent, food, travel, things of that nature. It can vary depending on where you live, your habits, things like that, but that's the general number that we give. Some of the must-visit areas, I personally enjoy the Ross Park Zoo. It's actually the 5th oldest zoo in the nation. On the smaller side, but very enjoyable during the summer and the fall. Are there any must-visit areas for you guys? Any places you go a lot or enjoy?
Definitely the zoo. I would agree with you on that one.
I'm a sports fan, so I usually go over to where the Binghamton Mets baseball team plays their games downtown.
We also had a few questions about how walkable the area is. Will a car be necessary? And the answer is yes and no. So we do have bus services as well as Uber, Lyft, things of that nature that transport people from the various areas, local towns and stuff to the city of Binghamton, to downtown. It depends on where you're going. Most students, again, elect to live near downtown or near the university, and in which case you wouldn't necessarily need a car, but if you travel a lot or visit areas that are around Binghamton, a car might be more necessary for those people. We also had a question about the best place to get coffee. I personally enjoy Starbucks. We have one here on campus now, so I visit that a lot, as well as quite a few in the downtown area in the surrounding towns. How about you guys? Where do you like to get your caffeine fix?
Well, I know for me, I live downtown, so Strange Brew is a place that I tend to go quite a bit. It's pretty popular with students. So.
I'm actually not too big of a fan of Starbucks. I like the other rivals. I am big on Dunkin' Donuts, and we do have one here on campus as well, and it does get packed. So especially during finals and midterms week, you want to make sure you get to Dunkin' Donuts as soon as possible.
And then we even had a question about, are there archery ranges? And I can say that there are. Insight Archery, which is on what is called the east side of Binghamton, actually exists. And that was something I didn't know until that question was asked. And I've been here 6 years, so I'm very glad that it was asked, and I might take up seeing what's there. So we like to say we're a premier public university with an excellent education at a reasonable price. We are one of the top 50 public universities in the nation, as well as number 44 of all institutions in the nation doing the most for the American dream. But the cost for attendance is reasonable. We're number 4 among the most affordable top-ranked institutions in the U.S. and number 8 best value among the nation's public colleges for out-of-state students. And for some of you, you might be asking, where is Binghamton? I know it's in New York, but it's a big place. So we're located in what's called the southern tier of New York. We're actually the birthplace of IBM, right in Endicott, New York, which is just a few miles north of where we are right now. And we're close to major cities, such as you can see on the map, Niagara Falls, Toronto, Boston, Philadelphia. I personally am from the Niagara Falls area, so to visit home is decent. only a few hour trip, and to visit New York City, where a lot of my friends and colleagues work, is also only a few hour trip. I know we were talking earlier, and you guys said you had a few favorites that you like to visit.
Yeah, I know. So for me, I'm from the Hudson Valley originally, so New York City is definitely really important for me to be in close proximity to. I was born in Jersey, and my dad still lives there, so having being able to be in commuting distance to Jersey as well, and as you mentioned, Niagara Falls. I'm actually planning a trip there over the summer, so
I was born and raised in New York City, so I do travel there pretty often. But I do feel I kind of just want to embark on a new journey, kind of see some new places. So I do travel to Philadelphia and especially Washington D.C. It's not too far a drive from Binghamton, as you can all see on the map. So those are two of my favorite places that I like to travel to.
So while we're talking about traveling, I wanted to mention briefly transportation. So we have in the area two bus services. We have the off-campus college transport. That is a student-run bus service. We affectionately call them the blue buses because when you get here, you'll notice that they're all painted blue. And those travel downtown, right from campus here, right from the Union. The majority of them are to either our other campus locations or to downtown neighborhoods where a lot of students like to live and things like that. Now, the Broome County Transit is the City of Binghamton's bus service, and so that will extend out to other local towns right nearby. Um, they meet up and have similar routes to some of our buses, and so there's the opportunity to get, on a OCCT bus and take a Broome County bus somewhere else. We also have the Greater Binghamton Transportation Center. That is our bus terminal in downtown. It's actually connected to the Broome County Transit bus terminal. So a lot of students, so you can take one bus right to there, especially for those who live in New York City or surrounding areas. And they offer, again, Coach, Greyhound, Megabus, Our Bus, and Trailways. And so those are an option that a lot of students, especially those without vehicles, take. We also recently got Zipcar, Uber, and Lyft. And so those are something I haven't personally taken advantage of, but I do know a lot of people who definitely enjoy taking those. I've used a lot of experience with the transportation center, taking buses elsewhere, and it's an incredibly simple process from buying tickets to arriving. Um, Anything you two would like to add?
I mean, the blue buses definitely are really convenient for me. I mean, I do have a car on campus, but I find that I take the blue bus half the time just because it is so convenient. It takes you straight to campus. Especially for me living downtown, it's just really convenient. So.
Often when I have to attend events in New York City and I don't want to drive to New York City just because of the traffic and how busy New York City gets, I prefer to take Trailways. Trailways is right down in downtown Binghamton. The tickets don't cost too much, about $35 you're looking at, and it'll get you straight over to New York City. They do make some pit stops along the way because it can be a long bus ride, and they also have Wi-Fi and plugs for your laptops, computers, devices, that kind of thing too.
So I'll briefly give everyone an overview of our campus community. So our total student enrollment is just over 17,000, and about 3,600 of that is graduate students. Our international student population runs around 16%. And here within the graduate school, we have over 90 academic programs, and that's including both master's and doctoral degrees. In addition, you'll see there we have over 250 student groups. Majority of those will be undergrad. However, any student can join any, a graduate student can join any undergraduate group. But we also have some specific graduate organizations, and I will let Veronica and Jeff talk about those a little bit more.
Yeah, so Jeff and I are both, because we're both in the Student Affairs program, we're both part of the Student Affairs Graduate Association, which, they do a lot of like professional development type events, a lot of social events. I don't know if you want to say more about that.
Yep. So just kind of looking for a new way to get connected with grad students. If you come to graduate school and you're looking to connect with new grad students, kind of try to find who your area is going to be, the people that you surround yourself with. Definitely joining one of those organizations would definitely be in your best benefit.
Yeah, and we do have a graduate student organization, the GSO, which kind of sort of promotes, graduate students being more involved in campus clubs and stuff because, as Travis had mentioned, a lot of them are sort of more undergrad centric, but we really encourage graduate students to join clubs and activities on campus.
So as I can see on the chat, a lot of you are asking, of course, about housing options. And so there are a few different options. There are some limited on-campus housing for graduate students. They're in our apartment communities. However, most of our students choose to live off campus because of anything from, we've got a group of friends who wants to live off there to cost, location, and that's where the off-campus college comes into play. They help students connect with other students who are looking for apartments or for leases or for houses, things like that. They maintain a list of options, and they also assist students, going over the leases, making sure that everything is correct, making sure that all the terms are favorable for everybody involved. Now here's a map of the area. The large green sun there in the Vestal area is Binghamton University's campus. So we are technically, while called Binghamton University, we are located in the town of Vestal. Just across the river is the west side of Binghamton. A lot of students choose to live there, as it is a lot of neighborhoods, parks, things like that. Downtown Binghamton, just to the right or to the east of that, is where there are some major student housing options, as well as a lot of restaurants, shopping, things of that nature. Johnson City to the north is also another place that students choose to live. There are quite a few apartment communities that I've been to there that are all very lovely. And those areas are extremely accessible within bus. Endicott, which is a little to the west of Vestal and Johnson City, is actually another area that students do choose to live. A lot of students that live there usually have cars just because of the distance. It's no more than a 10 to 15-minute ride, but again, it's just usually quicker for students with cars. I personally live in the west side of Binghamton, close to downtown, and have enjoyed living there for a few years now. The proximity to parks are really what I enjoy, especially during the summer. Go for a walk in the evening after work, down to the park. Just getting outside is nice. How about you two? Where do you live, and what's your favorite things to do there?
So again, as I mentioned, I live downtown. I live in one of the student housing complexes downtown, right next to the downtown center. And I mean, for me, I picked it just for the amenities. I get my own room and my own bathroom. I share my apartment with one other person who's also, she's not in the student affairs program, but she's a social work student. So we have very similar interests. And yeah, just being close to the downtown center is great. There's also lots of restaurants and coffee shops and stuff downtown. So it's really convenient for me. And it's the commute to main campus is pretty short, as Travis had mentioned. So.
Yep. So just like Travis had mentioned, I also live in the west side of Binghamton. So I'm about 5 minutes away from downtown Binghamton, 10 minutes away from campus. I did want to choose an area where I would be in close proximity to work and school. So just by driving, essentially, I can get to work and school and anything else pretty much in the area in a reasonable amount of time. And I also like to be close to things that you need, necessities that you need while you're living off campus. So I'm very close to a supermarket. I'm very close to a movie theater if I just wanted to relax and watch a movie after a long weekend. I can walk straight to downtown Binghamton and kind of just enjoy a drink at a bar or just have food with the friends, just kind of relax and kind of get away from the school aspect a little bit. But definitely the west side of Binghamton, I would definitely recommend living there. There's a whole bunch of options and services for you as you attend Binghamton.
It is worth noting, within Vestal, there is about a mile away what's called University Plaza, and they do have a few options for housing, similar to on-campus housing. However, they're not associated with the university. And students choose to live there as well, just because, again, a mile away, incredibly close, does contain restaurants as well. But it really all depends on what you're looking for, and what you're hoping to get out of your time here. The other thing worth mentioning is off-campus safety and security. Located right in downtown Binghamton is the Binghamton Police Department. There are also Rave Alert and B Alert notifications, which can be signed up once you get a BU Brain account, once you get your Binghamton email, and those can also be sent to parents through various ways of setting up your accounts. Um, on Fridays and Saturday nights, the Binghamton University buses run later. Of course, students, on the weekends spend more time out in the evenings. So we wanted to make sure that students have a reliable way to and from campus or the different areas that they might live. And also we have Harper's Ferry, which is a student-run ambulance service here on campus. All students are trained just as any other EMT would be trained. Um, and that's something that we run for our students. We were ranked the 20th safest city in the United States and the 28th best college town in America. Now we're going to get to some of the things to do off campus. Of course, you're here to expand your education, and that, of course, will be the focus. But there's a lot to do in the area. So this isn't just a chance for you to broaden your education, but to broaden experience as well. We have First Friday. It's a community art show. As the name implies, it takes place the first Friday of each month. We also have Restaurant Week. Um, Speedy Fest and Balloon Rally. As previously mentioned, the Binghamton Zoo. There are plenty of apple farms, vineyards, as well as concerts. The Triple Cities Opera House, the Binghamton Philharmonic, the Forum Theater, Veterans Memorial Arena are all places that one can take in anything from orchestras to plays to bands. I'll give it off to Veronica and Jeff to talk about perhaps some of their experiences in this area, some of their favorite things to do, and then I'll briefly mention some of my favorite things.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, my roommate and I live downtown. So First Friday is definitely something we pretty much always partake in. And Restaurant Week, of course, is really popular with students, especially living downtown and having such close proximity to a bunch of different restaurants. That's always something that we want to take advantage of. So.
Yep, Restaurant Week is definitely very, very popular here on campus. What typically happens is a lot of the restaurants in downtown Binghamton will create a modified menu for people to come and grab food to eat, and all of the money that they receive from Restaurant Week will go to charity donations. I've also gone to the Forum Theater. I actually saw a Sesame Street show, so it was really cool to kind of like feel like a kid again. And it gives you that nice chance to kind of get away from campus, from that school aspect, as I mentioned before, and kind of enjoy some of the services that we offer off campus for students as well.
So I know we, of course, have talked a lot about Restaurant Week. Of course, tons of restaurants to choose from. Are there any favorites? I know there's a million to choose from, but if you have one or two, what's the best place to eat? I know we're going to discuss this a bit more in the next slide, but
For me, I would say the Colonial definitely is one, and also Sakatumi. My roommate and I go there all the time. Even not during Restaurant Week. I know on Thursdays they have like a discounted price. I think it's like $1 per piece of sushi, so you can kind of mix and match, which I love. And yeah, those are probably my two favorites.
Burger Mondays by far for me is my favorite. I'm kind of regular there on most weekends. I get the same dish all the time. And that's just one of my favorites. Lost Dog Cafe is also really, really good as well. So it depends if you want diner food, if you want any other kind of foods that you're thinking about. For the most part, Binghamton probably offers it. So I would definitely suggest you taking time out when you do come to Binghamton and try out all the restaurants here, the downtown area.
I personally, within walking distance, there is an Indian restaurant that we go to. I go to just about once a week. And then just the other way, another 5 minutes is a diner that we go on the weekends for breakfast. So there's no shortage of food. You will never go hungry here in Binghamton, that's for sure. And again, Restaurant Week is, as Jeff was saying, supports charity organizations, a different one each year. And each semester, it's 10 days long. Really, pretty much a staple here for any Binghamton student. And we'll continue with things to do off campus. So there's options for hiking, kayaking, skiing, snowboarding, not only on campus itself through our nature preserve, but in local parks, local hiking trails. We're probably only under a mile from, under an hour from a state park. We also have pro sports teams. We now have Devils ice hockey and the Rumble Ponies baseball team. Um, Local parks, Atsanengo is one of the larger ones, but there are dozens dotting the downtown and the west side. There's a farmer's market that I've frequented quite a lot, golf courses, yoga studios. I mean, what are some of your favorite things to do when you're not eating or studying?
Definitely hiking for me. It's not off campus, but we do have a nature preserve on our campus, and I personally love hanging out there, especially when the weather's nice. For me, I really like to do photography and stuff like that, so I spend quite a lot of my free time there. So.
Yep. Outside of the Binghamton Rumble Ponies baseball team that I go to watch, I personally just like taking walks to downtown Binghamton since I live so close to it, and especially now that the weather's getting nicer, you'll see a lot more people out. It'll be much more lively, much more active downtown. So definitely just taking a walk and kind of seeing all the services we have would be great.
Yes. We're also getting some questions about other local things. So in Vestal, which is again right near us, there is a thing called the Rail Trail, which is a great place for people to walk, run. Downtown, I know I personally go for quite a few runs just in the neighborhoods. It's nice on a nice warm summer evening to see everyone out and about. Just enjoy, get out, de-stress a bit. Um, Our next slide, I always like to include this. I like to show, everyone always thinks sometimes of New York and stuff of being cold and wintry, and while we do have winter, I like to show that we have all four seasons here, from fall to spring to summer to winter, and each one sort of has their own innate beauty. And so I always like to show people who are new to the area that, you're gonna get a very broad experience here. And so after this, what we like to do, of course, slides about the information of what there is to do, but I do like to give a good amount of time for any questions that we might have. I've seen a lot in our chat, and so what we're going to do is take a look and answer any of the ones that we can here. So New York from Binghamton is probably about a 3 to 3.5 hour bus ride to car ride. I don't do it often, but also probably depends on traffic and where in the city you're going. Average temperature in the summer, that can range anywhere from, I've seen 60s to 90s. So it just depends on how the summer is going to be.
Somebody asked if the college bus stops at the dorms. We do, so part of our shuttle system, we have, as Travis mentioned, the blue buses, and we also have actually green buses that go kind of internally around campus. So if you are a student who lives on campus directly and you don't want to walk from one side of campus to the other, you can take the green buses and they'll get you where you need to be. So.
I also see some questions about specific neighborhoods, things like that. I mean, I myself, being here 6 years, I've never felt truly unsafe in any one area. We always recommend, if you're out with friends, stay in a group, things like that. But of course, this is the question is specified for a woman. Veronica, is there anything?
Again, I live downtown. I've never felt unsafe just walking alone. Usually, if it is late, I do prefer to walk with somebody, but I've never felt unsafe. Just either walking, downtown to like a restaurant or something to grab takeout or something. Like I've never felt like uneasy about doing that. So.
There's a question about Facebook groups for newly grad students. One of the good things about joining a student organization or even joining a master's program or a PhD program here at Binghamton, a lot of them do have Facebook pages, and that's how you kind of find out about the events that are happening within the program that you can attend to, meet other people that are also in the program as well. So you definitely want to be on the lookout for that once you are fully admitted and you kind of jump in to the full swing of things. Then the semester starts in August.
And in terms of the Facebook page, as I had mentioned in the beginning, I manage just the general graduate school Facebook page. So that's definitely a good thing to follow. Just for more general information about the graduate school, I post a lot of like campus events and things that are going on campus that are relevant to graduate students. So I would definitely recommend following that page as well.
So we've also got a lot of questions about housing in the area. Some of them from international students on the best places, the best way to go about it. And one of the first resources I would recommend would be the off-campus college and their website. They have a whole list, and these are, of course, places that are more reputable than perhaps those you might find elsewhere. Again, I've never had any issues, but I always recommend starting with sort of the Binghamton centric resources. And I'm sure Lisa could throw that, put the URL in the chat if she hasn't already. Else. We're also getting some questions about local restaurants, especially those for Korean or Asian. I know Veronica had said your favorite was
Sakatumi.
Sakatumi.
Yeah.
There's also Thai Time, as well as a few Asian-centric markets. There's also some Indian-centric markets I know that I have visited, and they have things you can't really find in sort of your traditional grocery store, and so it's sort of unique to cook with them. New York City banks are being available in Binghamton. Jeff, you're from the city. Did you have an issue with that when you came here, or what did you do?
I actually did. I currently have Chase Bank, which isn't in Binghamton at all. So you definitely want to make sure if you are coming to Binghamton and you have a New York City bank, you kind of want to make sure you can connect with one of the banks that are out here. So I'm actually in the process of getting a account for M&T Bank, which is a popular bank here in Binghamton. Citizens Bank is also here as well. We also have an M&T Bank chain right on campus in the University Union. So I definitely would recommend that. You can go ahead and create your account from there as well. And that's kind of one of the easiest ways to get to.
Actually, a funny true story, Jeff. So within the coming months, there is a local credit union in the area called Visions, and they will actually be taking over that position as the university-affiliated banking. However, the good thing to note is they do work with a lot of partner banks and institutions, perhaps your local credit union, things of that nature. But in terms of, and that would allow you, of course, to transfer money, pay loans, things like that. So it's definitely something to be conscientious of. Determine what, there still are M&T banks in the area, if that's, of course, of ease to people. I personally use M&T still, and Visions. It's all going to depend on what's going to be the easiest for you as a student here. Let's see. There are bus routes and schedules, both in print as well as the app. Does anyone else use the bus app?
Yeah, I think I have it. I mostly just kind of default to the schedule that's on. The off-campus bus system has like its own website. I'm sure Lisa can put that in the chat as well. So there's a schedule there, but we also have the B-Mobi app, I believe it's called. So that will also kind of keep you updated of, it'll tell you like the next bus is going to come in like 10 minutes, that kind of thing. So. Somebody asked about vegan options and vegetarian. I actually just went vegetarian about 2 months ago, and I'm kind of transitioning into veganism a little bit. I find that for me, it's been pretty easy to transition here, especially we have a Wegmans in the area. Wegmans has a lot of vegetarian and vegan options, as well as in the restaurants on campus and off campus. I've never had an issue. Travis mentioned earlier, like you're not going to starve here. I've never had an issue finding food here. So.
Best months to find off-campus housing. I definitely would say like now actually is really a wonderful time to do that, just because it's going to be competitive with a whole bunch of students that are also coming to Binghamton as well for the semester in August. So you definitely want to make sure you're using that off-campus college URL. That's actually how I found my apartment. Making sure you're connecting with landlords. Superintendents kind of trying to figure out how you can go ahead and create your housing options for your particular semester just because it's going to be important moving forward. And a lot of people are in the process of doing that now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I used to work actually for a property management company, so I always recommend to people start looking as soon as possible for, uh, available apartments. The sooner the better, really. So.
I would agree with that. I mean, it is worth noting, however, that there's not sort of like a deadline. Usually there are either people subletting for semesters, or there are housing options that, just didn't get filled because the community really caters to Binghamton in terms of housing. So the lease lengths most often will begin on June the 1st and will end the following May 31st, which coincides with the semester pretty well for most students. And things like landlords can be anything from one person who manages multiple homes to even one person who just has one building, one house, to larger groups that manage apartment buildings like the place that I live in. And it's again going to depend on what you are looking for, what you're comfortable with, and it's just sort of beneficial to do the homework. Of course, you're attending this webinar here, so learning about the area, things like that. We've also got some questions about campus jobs, and those would, of course, all depend on what you're looking for. For those who are just talking about graduate assistantships, teaching assistantships, those are, of course, given out by departments. However, there are options for the possibility always for an internship or perhaps during my time here, a lot of people that I know worked at Sodexo, which is our on-campus food provider, and anything from a dining hall to our marketplace to the Shemanga room, things like that. So there are options, and they just vary. It really depends on what it is that you're looking for personally. So we do have somebody who's missed, a few people who missed the best areas for housing. So let me just go back to that map while we're discussing it. It seems to be a very popular question, which of course makes sense. Going to be here for a while, so you want to make sure you're living, in an area that you feel both safe and comfortable. And so of course Vestal is where the university is located. The west side is where there's a lot of neighborhoods for both local residents as well as students, graduate students, PhD students, undergraduates. The Binghamton and downtown area are packed with students again. And then Johnson City, which is where the mall is located. There is other student housing, things like that. And then Endicott as well, which again we said is another place that people choose to live, but those students who live there most often have a vehicle. So it just depends on what you're looking for and what you have. The west side is very suburban. Johnson City can be anything from a suburban feel to a bit more of a rural feel. Again, depending on what you're looking for.
Please keep in mind that because Binghamton does have a university, all of our neighboring towns will cater to students living off campus as well. So in terms of finding off campus housing, it won't be too much of an issue. As we mentioned, Endicott, Johnson City, Vestal, the west side of Binghamton, and downtown Binghamton will all have available options for you to go ahead and rent an apartment for a semester, for a year, however long you choose. So also just be mindful of that as well.
We've got a few people asking about furniture, things of that nature. So again, that can depend actually on where you live. I know I've both lived in a place where things like a bed, desk, dresser were provided, and the current place that was unfurnished. How about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason that I chose the student living community that I live in currently is because, well, because I live with other students, which was an aspect that appealed to me, but also because they provide, the building itself is brand new, and so the furniture as well is brand new. It comes completely furnished, which was really convenient for me because I knew I didn't want to have to buy furniture and then, not know what to do with it after I graduate. So that was definitely convenient for me.
got a few questions about some other neighborhoods of Binghamton. The South Side. Um, as far as I know, I've never lived in the South Side, nor have I had many friends live in the South Side. However, I do have a coworker who lives there. I've visited many times. I would say just like the West Side, it's again, um, pardon me, a suburban neighborhood, local residents as well as students. You'll find that students live just about everywhere in the area. It will just depend in what concentrations. And we have another question about commuting during winter storms. I will let you guys handle that, of course, with commuting for classes and things like that. You know, best options.
Yeah, I mean, definitely if you have a car that has all-wheel drive, that's definitely convenient, but you don't need it. As I mentioned before, we have the bus system, which for the most part pretty much always runs unless classes are canceled, in which case you probably wouldn't need to commute onto campus anyway. So again, that I would highly recommend that. That's been a really convenient asset for me to be able to use the bus system.
Yeah, I'd second Veronica.
Um, the administration here at the university always takes weather into consideration when determining whether, especially during winter, whether classes will be canceled or be held or be delayed, and that depends on a variety of factors. Luckily, you know, Binghamton, we know that it's going to snow, so we do our best to prepare. Only have we had a few larger snowstorms, in which case classes were canceled so that students wouldn't have to worry about traveling and commuting. And so that's always in our mind, especially during the winter months.
Yeah, definitely. As Lisa had mentioned in the chat as well, we always make sure, you know, the city is really good about making sure the roadways are clear. So really, it's never been a a huge issue for me personally. But
Um, so as Lisa, of course, said, we do get all four seasons here. During the summer, it's fantastic here. It really is. And I can personally say that especially during the summer, the sunsets here are quite beautiful. The winter, while it is cold and snowy, has its own sort of enjoyment, whether it's, you know, sledding, skiing, outdoor activities during the summer, you know, yoga, running, things like that. During the fall, especially around sort of the Halloween time when the leaves are changing, it's just absolutely gorgeous. So I wouldn't say that the climate's to any one extreme, but we get a good dosing of all four. Um, in your experience, is it gloomy here, or what do we think on that one?
I mean, lately it's been beautiful. Of course, it's rainy out today, unfortunately, but the past few days have been like really sunny and like I've loved it. I've been spending a lot of time outside lately, so.
Yep, we really just finished our winter season here in Binghamton, so it's like officially spring. The weather's gonna be nice. I definitely would encourage you if you can get to
Yeah.
Binghamton earlier than August, definitely do it. So at least you get a
Yeah.
chance to experience what Binghamton looks like in the summertime. And fall is also really, really great as well.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody also asked about traveling from New York City to Binghamton. We do have an airport locally, but what I would really recommend is we have, I believe last semester or last year, we started a direct bus service from JFK International Airport to the Binghamton campus. So I believe it's $80. And it'll take you straight from the airport directly to campus. Lisa can put in that link as well. There's several different dates and times that you can register for, and we would really encourage you to look into that, especially if you're an international student.
A few questions here also about internships in the local area. And I personally have held a few during my time here, a few internships with not only other offices on campus as well as some local companies, businesses, things like that. So there are opportunities, and I always recommend to students to just keep an eye out and ask questions because that's usually one of the best ways to find opportunities. Um, So we've got a few other questions about on-campus jobs. So in addition to Sodexo, things like the gym are also run by students. What else?
I mean, it's not on campus. I mean, we mentioned different offices employ students. You can be employed as a teaching assistant or a graduate assistant, but also there's a lot of different like retail stores like on the Vestal Parkway here where the campus is located. Pretty much anything you could think of, those places tend to hire students a lot. So if you're looking for kind of like a flexible like retail type of job to do on weekends, or like in the evenings or something like when you don't have class, that's a good option as well.
Even some on-campus jobs in the library. I know a lot of students who work in the library as student assistant for work study purposes. Even the bookstore as well may be another option as well. So, and that's all listed on our website.
So we will continue answering questions up until 3:30 and perhaps even a little bit after if there's a lot. But I also want to quickly make a note that this is just the first of a few webinars that we have coming up over the next few months for our admitted students, to just sort of get them acclimated to not only the city of Binghamton, what life on campus is like, what the resources are that we offer our students, things like that. And those will be coming out very soon. We've got a question about starting an application for on-campus jobs. And those can begin whenever you find the opportunity for one. There is no set time for like an on-campus job in Sodexo, things like that. The direct bus service is not only available for new students, it's available for any students, both international or domestic. And again, visiting that link, you can see the dates that it's available, the cost associated with that. It's part of helping our students get to campus easier, and just making life a bit more simple for them at this time.
And I believe you can bring a guest as well. So if you want to bring like a friend or something to help you move, that is an option. They would also pay the $80 as well, but that's something to keep in mind.
We've got a question about housing, whether you do it in person, online, now or later. Anyone have any advice on that one?
I arranged my housing options in person. I was actually in Binghamton with my dance team from undergrad a year ago, and at the same time, I went to travel and visit some areas where I was looking for housing. So I did it in person. I think doing it in person may be easier, just so that like messages aren't misconstrued or misunderstood with you and the landlord. So that may be something you want to look into doing it in person. But if you obviously can't for whatever reasons, then definitely doing it through the phone or email may also be another option for you too.
Yeah, I know for me, I was working in New York City at the time when I was looking into housing here, so it just wasn't convenient with my work schedule to come up here and visit the apartment complex that I was looking at. But for me, because I was living in a student, oriented housing complex and it was brand new, I felt pretty comfortable, signing my lease like digitally and everything like that. My lease was pretty standard, so I felt comfortable about doing it all remotely. And it worked out really well for me. I really enjoy where I live. So.
We've also gotten a lot of questions about saving this webinar, things like that. So the video itself we won't be saving. However, everyone who's registered and those who unfortunately couldn't attend or whatnot, we will be sending the slides to them. And I do recommend if anyone has any questions, especially about anything that we talked about today, to please reach out to me. I'm there as a resource to help students with any questions from programs to costs to where to live, recommendations, things like that. Got a few questions about multicultural events, and one of our graduate organizations, the Indian Graduate Student Organization, does a lot in terms of events like Holi, things like that, but also any student groups. There are just so many that they'll host events, things like that. Anything to add on that in terms of events?
If you travel through the University Union, we do have bulletin boards up with each day of the week, and a lot of the organizations on campus will post what their event is throughout the week. So definitely, you can walk through the University Union, check out any of those bulletin boards, and then stop by Dunkin' Donuts and get some good coffee.
Yeah.
Also got some questions about students and locals. And for my entire time here, as well as my experience, there have never been issues of that. I've always felt welcomed. And as I said earlier in the presentation, I now feel sort of at home here. This is, more my home now than ever since I left home. And so I really enjoy the area, the people, and everything that there is to do here.
Yeah, I would say the locals definitely really embrace the student population here. I know a lot of campuses sometimes think it might be contentious with like the student population, and you might not get along with the locals, but I've never experienced that here. There's really a lot of support in the local community for the students who go here.
We do have another person who missed about expenses. In the area, I would say the cost of living for Binghamton is incredibly affordable. It's one of the things I really enjoy most, actually, about both working here and living here, is that I definitely find that it gives me more options to try new things, do different things, and whatnot. We've got another question about the on-campus medical facility. So we do have an on-campus facility for students. We also have options for off-campus, not only including multiple hospitals, but walk-in clinics, things of that nature. Not sure if anyone has any experience with those areas, but if you do, by all means, please feel free to share.
Yep, I know we have Decker Health Services on campus. I believe we have UHS right across from our campus as well, and some of the neighboring towns too.
And I believe we have the student-run ambulance service as well. That's a good thing to mention.
So we have a question about the April 15th event on security and safety in the area. And Binghamton's campus is a very safe campus. Historically, the campus has some of the lowest rates of crime among college campuses in similar size. It doesn't mean we're immune to the dangers that affect areas with a high density population. But over the coming weeks, our campus has been committed to hearing what measures that we think the community thinks that we should take to make it safer. And in the meantime, the university is assessing all of our security measures on campus. In general, is graduate life stressful?
Great question.
Yeah, good question. It's a balancing act, I would say. I think once you kind of like get into the rhythm of it, especially if you are like we both are, balancing graduate assistantships and being an actual graduate student, plus your own life outside of school. It is a lot to balance, but I think once you kind of get the hang of it, I don't necessarily find that I'm stressed constantly. It's really just part of being a graduate student is sort of learning to be a professional and learning to budget your time well and really gain those time management skills.
And everyone kind of in graduate school is going through the same thing you're going through. They're probably going through it in different ways, and it's kind of like Veronica said, all a balancing act. How do you balance, your class schedule? How do you balance the workload? The one thing I do enjoy about graduate school is a lot of the work that we're studying is much more concise. Much more uniform and direct to what we want to do career-wise versus some, at least my experience in undergrad, some of the classes that I've taken have nothing to do with what I want to do career-wise. In graduate school, I don't really find that to be the case. Everything that I'm taking, even applying it to a practical experience like my assistantship, all kind of helps me in what I want to do moving forward in career. So that may help as a great motivator for you to not see graduate school as stressful, but kind of enjoy the process as you move along.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I think the nice thing about being a graduate student and being at that professional level is that you are really honing in on what you want to do career-wise. And so, especially for Jeff and I being in the student affairs program, a lot of the content that we're learning is about, interacting with students and stuff like that. And then we get to apply that to our assistantships. So it's all kind of like interconnected, and it definitely makes balancing everything a lot easier.
So we've got a few more questions here. Let's see. Um, so in terms of connecting with departments, I would always recommend going to the independent departments page. In there, they'll usually have um, either an entire staff directory or perhaps even at the least case, the director. And in most all cases, they're very eager to talk to prospective students, admitted students in your case, things like that. They love what they do, they're passionate about it, and so talking to others about it is something that they really enjoy doing. We have a few questions about rec centers, track, pool. So there's an outdoor track for students. However, there is also a pool in our on-campus gym, as well as both a cycling and strength training area and a wellness center. I know personally I thoroughly enjoy using both the pool, the wellness center, everything. Anything on you guys?
Yeah, I know for me, my complex has its own uh, recreation center.
We also have a few questions about making extra money, things of that nature. Again, there's just so many opportunities for on campus, off campus, that it would just depend on your needs and your preferences, really. Whether you're just looking online for part-time things outside of a GA or a TA shift or something of that, there are many options. And I just recommend again just sort of looking around, seeing what's going to fit, and going from there. Um, any shopping centers nearby? So we do have two areas. We have a Oakdale Mall and the Town Square Mall, and those have different shops, different stores, larger things like a J.C. Penney or a Bonton, Walmart, Dick's Sporting Goods, things like that. Any favorite stores or anything like that, guys?
Yeah, I mean, as I had mentioned earlier, I feel like there's pretty much every like major type of store here. There's a Walmart, there's a Target, there's a mall, as you had mentioned, that has like pretty much all the major stores. Yeah.
So we're getting towards the end of our time here, unfortunately. And I just want to let everyone know again, if we didn't get to your question, if you have follow-ups or want more information, to please feel free to reach out to me. In addition to that, I will be sending out these slides so that people can review, take a look at them, and if then if you don't have any questions right now, but you're reading through this again and you find that you have follow-up questions, please feel free to email me again. My email will be in the contact. Um, and we'll wait a few more minutes if there's any more questions that pop up that we can answer. But otherwise, I hope everyone found this to be an engaging webinar. I hope that you have learned a bit more about the area. I'm certain everyone has done their research on the school. But yes, I hope everyone enjoyed it, learned something from it. If there's anything that the two of you would like to add, by all means, please feel free.
I mean, for Jeff and I, we went to the same undergraduate institution, and we both kind of had the same reason for coming to Binghamton. We kind of just wanted a new experience. Not that I want to speak for you, but I think we've both really enjoyed being students here, and as we mentioned, being able to work on campus as well. We've really enjoyed our experience here. So.
Yep, and if you're definitely looking for a new place to kind of get situated in, kind of embrace the new culture, Binghamton definitely would be the place to do it. All of us are located at the graduate school on campus. So if you're ever on campus in August and you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything that's pertaining to your graduate school program, stop by the graduate school office, come see us, come talk to us. We'll be able to help you out and kind of assist you in your journey moving forward.
Excellent. Again, thank you everyone for joining us. I do hope that everyone found it informative, enjoyed it. We do look forward to both hearing from you, but also hopefully seeing you in the summer. I hope everyone has a good day, and thank you again for attending.